Now, oxygen can be prepared laboratorily from the decomposition. In chemistry, there are different types of reaction. We have combination reaction, whereby two elements come together to form a bigger element. We have decomposition reaction, whereby a bigger element split to form two or more other elements. Now, laboratory preparation. Oxygen can be prepared by a decomposition of potassium triacylchloride 5. Potassium triacylchloride 5. Why is it even called chloride 5? Why chloride 5? Okay, now it is called chloride 5 now due to its oxidation state or oxidation, the oxidation state in this. Let's do a brief calculation of why it's called chloride 5. Now, the oxidation number of potassium, remember potassium has a valency of 1, belong to group 1 element. Now, we have potassium equals to +1. Oxygen is -2. The oxidation state of oxygen is -2, but in peroxides, it assumes another number of oxidation state. So, the total number of or the addition of the oxidation numbers here is equals to 0. That's one of the rules. So we have potassium, making chlorine and the subject matter. We have potassium to be 1, not just 1 plus 1, plus chlorine, plus oxygen is -2 times 3. Is all equals to 0. So we have +1 plus chlorine plus -2 times 3, that is -6 equals to 0. So we have +1 plus chlorine, plus times minus is minus, we have -6 equals to 0. So +1 plus chlorine, then we have equals to 0 plus 6. So +1 plus chlorine equals to +6. Chlorine equals to +6 -1. Chlorine equals to +5. So this is the reason why it's called chlorate what? It's called potassium triacylchloride 5, because the oxidation number of chlorine in this compound is what? Is +5. Equation for the action. Equation for the action. Potassium triacylchloride 5 decompose with heat to give you potassium chloride plus oxygen. Let's look at if the equation is balanced. Oxygen here is 3, oxygen here is 2, so let's put 3 here. Oxygen here becomes what? Becomes 6. Now the oxygen here is 6, the oxygen here is 3. Let's put 2 here to balance it up. So we have 2 times 3, that is 6 oxygen. Potassium is 2, chlorine is 2. So in order for us to balance the equation, so we have to put 2 here. So the equation now is balanced. For a chemical equation to be balanced, now the number of mole on the left hand side, which is a reactant, must be equal to the number of mole on the right hand side, which is the product. Okay, so continue. I will just talk about one of the uses of oxygen for respiration. Now, we describe the blood as a connective tissue and a fluid of life. And one thing the red blood cell does is that it's responsible for transport of the gases, and such gases include oxygen, carbon 4, and all that. Oxygen is required for respiration. Now, terrestrial beings or terrestrial animals like human beings, they actually depends on atmospheric oxygen for survival because they have lungs as an organ for respiration. Then fishes, the aquatic that lives in water, they actually depends on oxygen too, but in a dissolved state in order for them to survive. That is the reason why when there is oil spillage in the water, it results to the environmental pollution, water pollution. What it does is that it actually combined with the oxygen, it becomes the water becomes carbonated. So there is no there is no really free oxygen. The oxygen is contaminated, and as a result of that, it leads to poisoning. And when humans feed on such a fish, it can actually lead to food poisoning and eventually death. Then, when a patient is gasping for air and probably dying, like having a respiratory issue, oxygen is an essential gas that is used to resuscitate such a patient. Oxygen is also used as an anesthetic agent combined with other compounds and elements or chemicals and all that.